Agud Vintera Boisai. It's still Yontif. Anybody? Yontif right now? No. Thank you. Is it Yontif for anybody? No. Okay. Some people Yontif they're by Compass right now. No, you're allowed to leave it on. Maybe I don't know. This is Erev Yontif. I didn't have a chance. I still didn't have a chance to see all the. I'm sure there's a lot of video circulating and all that. And I just want to share with you one, in case you didn't see. This one I liked a lot because he came with a lulav and esrog. He bought a lulav and esrog for his son. He said Beis Hashem is coming out during Yom Tov, and he got him like on the tail end. Mamash, for just a few minutes left. When was it? It was 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock by us in the morning, so it was like it was the last day, here he is. I couldn't edit, and I couldn't take out that my computer was water spilling and everything, so I asked him just to throw it in from this point, so you don't really see the little Vanessa. It's there, I saw it, but there's a woman holding it, so we're going to go from here. It's unbelievable. No, that he could say the bracha at that point. I don't know how he had the koyach to say the bracha. Unbelievable.
Head is straight.
Rebelli and those involved in this holy work, I wanted to thank you for 358 days, 514,560 minutes, 30,873,000 seconds since I started learning the daf with you. In addition, I merited to complete another year of Shnayim Mikra Targum, something that hasn't happened many times before. What a joy to dance in Simchas Torah with such a pekalach bundle, pekala of Torah in my hands. I asked ChatGPT to write a blessing for Stefansky in honor of Simchas Torah, and this is what I got. I was sending my thanks this way, but honestly, it made me laugh, so I decided to send it anyway. Dear Belly, this Simchas Torah, we all hope you'll dance with the Sefer Torah at least the way you explain a difficult Tosfos, with lots of hand motions, a smile, and pshat meduyik, and a voice that reaches all the way to the mean and flatbush. Maybe continue spreading smiles like you spread diagrams in the shir. Sometimes even Taisus himself wouldn't know exactly how he got there. May you never run out of sponsors, and may you merit many more L'zeichen Nishmas. That I'm not sure about. That's what, when you give strategy. In other words, he's saying a lot of people should be nifter, even if not everyone pronounces it right. May the Gemara always remain for you not just a Daf Yomi, but a daily daf of joy. May you always find a place to throw in a Ma'aser Shahaya with Reb Chaim Kanievsky, even if it's not exactly on topic. That was a good one. Okay. May we all know that with Gemara, Art Scroll, Reb Eli, you can reach the Siyum even when you're listening at 2 times speed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Momo Cohen, Beitar Ilit. Shkaya. Whose? No, it's not your son. No. So Shabsi doesn't have a son that old, I don't think. How's your oldest, Shabsi?
Shabsi doesn't have a Momo.
20? Oh yeah, okay. That Momo's the. Well, we have the guy himself. Hill himself is here for the. You said it in Hebrew. Get over here. Say it in English for a second. I said over what you said, but if you're here, you're already here, and you're wearing the MDY cap. Hold on, no, stand next to me, and you can hold this now. There's a little bit more. I'm sorry if you're unprepared. Go. Well, first I'll preface this that you didn't want to speak in public. You said it's not your thing. But when I told you that it's going to be mechazik one other yid, you said, okay, I'm doing it. Let's go.
Thank you, Rabbi Eli. It's really b'zchutcha and b'zchut the Daf Yomi. I managed so much this year. I've been learning for over a year now the Daf. I started in Baba Kama with MDY. And because of this, I was able to, earlier this year, the first time in easily over 20 years, to do the whole and finish Sfiras Omer, beginning to end. And I did. And I did this year for the first time. I did Shnayim Mikra Targum. I didn't even know that such a concept existed until this year.
have
Eitan G
You're not the
as
only
well.
one, see?
No, we did it together.
Really?
The whole tour.
And I was told earlier today, because in the previous video I said if I can do it, anybody can do it, but everybody has their bundle, everybody has their package, and you just need to try. You just need to start, take the first step, and commit yourself to every day.
How many minutes did it take you a day?
It depended on the part right now.
Be'erech.
Be'erech 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes every day.
How about you?
A little longer.
A little longer.
Yeah.
It depends on
Not
your
as
reading
easy.
skills. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you read quicker, it's quicker. If you read slow, it's fine. About 10 minutes. Okay.
10 minutes.
Thank you very
Shkoyach
much.
very
Thanks for the
much.
chizuk. Wow.
Everything
You should know, there's going to be people out there, they're going to start Shnayim Mikra and Tzvir Yasomer because of you. Givaldik. Thank you. Schiyot. Thank you. All right. The Masechta is sponsored by David Salomon, dedicated in memory of Avi Mori, Reb Shmuel Baruch Ben Reb Chaim Tzvi Doi Zichron Levracha. The Masechta is sponsored by the following 5 people: Lilu Nishmas, Doidi, Shlomi Yehuda Zichron Levracha, Ben Shmuel Chaim Zichron Levracha, Shaka V'Lamed Kachim Kol Chayo, Anonymous. L'schus for Shlema Nachum Tzvi Ben Yenta, sponsored by Skybrook Capital, in honor of our friends Meir Kovacs, Taki, and Shamshi Shlavrak for the devotion, Torah study, and the Shir. Joel Gedalis, Lilu Nishmas, my father, Jack Gedalius, Anonymous, Tzlach Baruchnis, Ubi Gashmias. MDY Coffee Corner, month, Rivka and Dr. Avram Epstein. Pray for complete and speedy recovery for Dr. Harold Goldmeyer. Monthly sponsors Anonymous from London, Parnosa B'Shefa, Yuda Loshinsky. In honor of my father's 6th cycle of the Daf, your big heart and giving to the community is inspiration for all of us. Anonymous, Baruch Ad B'Liyadah Yuda Ben Yom Ben Chava, and Baruch Tzvi Nisim Ben Shoshana Leah. Anonymous, L'Shon Tov M'Tuka, L'Schus Eliyahu Ben Chaya Dvaira, and in honor of my Chavrusa Simchala, and Sion Glicksman, Mazda Natalia on her birthday, Urgent Refuah Shlema for Chaim Yosef Ariel Ben Sarah Rezel Refuah Shlema. Weekly sponsors: HYK Ventures, Refuah Shlema for Elka Bas Chana. Anonymous, in the merit of Bracha Bat Chana for good health. Daily sponsors: Rabbi Fishel Todd, in memory of my grandmother and family, Hashem Yimkom Damam, taken by the Nazis the 2nd days of Sukkot. MDY Art, monthly, Refuah Shlema for Yehonatan Eitan Ben Basheva Bracha, Amen. Refuah Shlema Mordechai Ben Esther, Amen. Refuah Sayela Daniel Zev Ben Ayelet Esther, Amen. Rabbi Isai. Here we go. We could just go back a couple of lines from the end of the Mishnah on Daf Chof Tes Amud Beis. You go to the Mishnah on the end of Chof Tes, and you go down the Mishnah. It's a long Mishnah that we said it was pretty simple concepts that we're familiar with, and it says, Omar Rebbe Yehuda. By me, it's 8 lines from the bottom of the daf. Zaklal, this is the rule. Kol shemachshavas hazman kodma lemachshavas hamokim. We're actually going to talk about Zaklal. There's a rule. When you have a rule, there has to be at least 2 things in the rule. It has to come to include something else. Zaklal, kol shemachshavas hazman. So all Rebbe is saying depends. We're talking about somebody that had more than one thought in his mind. So we're talking about pigul. We'll do chazara. Pigul is when a person thinks in his mind, as he's performing the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash, he thinks that he's going to eat this animal in a year from now. He thinks he's going to eat it past the permitted time. So if you're allowed to eat this animal for 2 days, he thinks in his mind he's going to eat it 3-4 days from now. And then he goes ahead and eats it. Here it gets people have a little bit of a hard time here. He eats it, then he's chayav kares. When does he eat it? Anytime after the zrika. He has to do all the 4 avodas. So gesund. After the zrika, he ate it. Okay? Then he's chayiv kares. If he didn't eat it, we saw he's chayiv malchus, according to one man domer. He's over iser. Says Rabbi Yehuda, if a person had 2 thoughts, it depends which thought came first. Did he have the thought of zman or the thought of makom? We didn't discuss makom, but it's the same idea. He thinks in his mind that he's going to eat this carbon outside of Yerushalayim, outside of the Beis Hamikdash. If it's a carbon that he could only eat in the Beis Hamikdash, he thinks to himself he's going to eat it in Har Nov. If it's a carbon that he could eat in Har Nov because it's a shlamim, so he thinks to himself he's going to eat it in Bet Shemesh. That's chutz l'makom. Chutz l'makom never gets cars. So, says Rabbi Yehuda, Kol shemachshavas hazman kodma lemachshavas hamakom. Pigul. If you allow the machshava of time to catch on because you did it first, then it's pigul. V'chayav malav cars, then you'll get cars. But if the first machshava was the lesser one, that you're going to eat it outside of Yerushalayim, and only afterwards you had a thought of pigul, pasal bein bekaris. But what does it mean you had a thought afterwards? What's afterwards? A minute later? 2 hours later? Maybe it means in a different avodah. You had one machshava by shchita, and then the second one you had by Kabbalah. Or maybe it's within the same thing. It's one after another. Boom, boom. What is it? Ariel. So let's skip to the where it says Gemara. Ariel. Machloik is b'shtei avodas. We're talking about that he had one thought of, I'm going to eat it outside the allotted time by, let's say, Kabbalah. And then by the Zrika, he had another machshava that he's going to eat it outside the place. And in that, Rabbi Yehuda says that you get kares. Why? Because you allowed the avodah in between. There's two different avodas. One was the Kabbalah, one was the Zrika. During the Kabbalah, you had a perfect thought of pigul. I'm going to eat it outside the allotted time. And you let it be chal. It grabbed. So that's it. For that moment, it grabbed. So now you chayiv kares. 20 minutes later, you went and you did zrika. And during that zrika, you thought, okay, I'm going to eat it outside of Yerushalayim. It's not good enough to undo the machshava they had before, the thought they had before. But if it's during one performance of avodah, you were receiving the blood, and in second number one, you thought to yourself, I am going to eat this outside the allotted time. And then 10 seconds later, as the blood is flying into your kli, you say, oh, and also I'm going to eat it outside of Yerushalayim. That's a combination of two different thoughts. And what happens when you have a combination of two different thoughts during pigul? It doesn't work. Pigul has to be pure. It has to be one thought only, not two thoughts. So according to Ilfa, if it happened during one avodah, it doesn't matter how far apart within that avodah. Let's say shechita took him. He's a really disgusting person. He's old and he has a really rusty knife and he's shechting slow. It's a 2-minute shechting. It doesn't matter. It's within that 2 minutes. He had one machshav in minute number 1, another machshav in minute number 2. It's a iruv machshavis. The mixture of two different thoughts. Then it's not a real pigul. You don't get cars for that. Pigul is by itself, one thought by itself. And this is going, really should have done, maybe Gary could do for me. I like to do those, musogei hashas. Over here, it's the musig in shas called tfais lashon rishon. You should grab on to the first thing that comes out of the guy's mouth. We don't really care. We're not going to ask him any questions. We're not concerned with what he thought and what he's going to tell us later. We're concerned about what is normal. When a person says something, he says, or thinks something, in this case he thinks / he says it even with his mouth, he says, I'm going to eat it outside the allotted time, boom. That's the one that goes. Twice, let us pay particular focus, attention to that lashon. What he said afterwards is the lashon sheni. I don't care about lashon sheni. I care about rishon. Says Rabbi Yochanan, even if it's one avodah, during Kabbalah Saddam he had two thoughts, we go with the first one. You could say here, I don't know if it's a Hasidic pshat. You could say a pshat. If somebody found it in some sort of sefer, great. You say, this has to do with not talking during Kaddish. Tfais lashon, rishon. Different emphasis. Tfais lashon, you should grab your tongue first. Grab your tongue first. The things that come out of your mouth are the most important things. Tfais lashon, rishon. Huh? Maybe. Chassidische word. Huh?
It's your word.
Okay, it's a Litvish word. You don't want to give credit to the Chassidim. Okay, I got it.
They can take it, but it's yours.
I don't know. Maybe I heard it once. Never heard it. You know all Hasidic words. You went through them all. You're the Google of Hasidic words. I'm going to fire you now in front of everybody. He's the giggle. He's the giggle of all the Hasidic words. Very good. Okay, whatever. You heard it here first from the Hasidim. The Hasidim Zogan, blame it on. Okay, he doesn't want the Hasidim to take credit for this. I can understand why. Great. Zog Gemara. Bishlam Elilufa. Now the Gemara does a classic thing. This whole long Mishnah, It's actually a very long Mishnah because this is the tail end. Our Mishnah that we see here on the Amud Beis, we already learned is the safe of the Mishnah that we had earlier. It's a long Mishnah. But don't we want to be consistent in the Mishnah? Don't we want to be, if the beginning of the Mishnah is talking about the guy had thoughts during 2 avodas, so then the end is also 2 avodas. So no, we're not so concerned. So the Gemara says, the case that when he did the shechita was chutzlas manoi, and then he did the kabbalah sadam, he said chutzlam koimai. 2 different avodas. So if an avodas, so it makes a lot of sense. Now we're talking about 2 different avodas. That's what Ilfa says. Machloikes b'shtei avodas. And mamish matches the ratio, matches the beginning of the Mishnah. Ratio b'shtei avodas, which I'm not so bothered by it, but the Gemara was bothered by it, so the Gemara knows better. The ratio is talking about 2 different avodas. The Seifa, well, the ratio is talking about 1 kazayis, and then the Seifa is talking about a half a kazayis. There's a lot of different cases in the Mishnah. No, for some reason, let's be consistent. The ratio is talking about, because maybe if you're not explaining, that's the pshat. If the Mishnah is not going to explain itself, so once I know that we're talking about 2 avodas, so the rest of the Mishnah must be talking about the same case, otherwise it's going to explain it. Maybe that's the pshat. Okay. We're talking about 1 avodah, not 2 avodas. In Daf Lamed Amud Aleph and Tav. Yes, you could say such a pshat. Tanan. But we learned in the Mishnah review the Zaklal. I pointed it out. You just read it. This is the rule. If the zman, the pigul came before the makom, then it works. Then you get cars. Because we're talking about 1 avodah. According to Ilfa, it's only in 2 avodas. According to Rabbi Yochanan, either 1, 2, doesn't matter. So I have room in my rule. My rule is 1 or 2. That's why I have to say zaklal. It comes to include even 1 avodah. Ilfa, my zaklal, but Ilfa says it can't be talking about 1 avodah. It's 2 separate avodas. So what's this big rule that you're telling me? You're saying a 1 halacha. Great, it's not a rule. Kasha, you're right. I got to tell you this. I said this to the guys in the Hebrew share. Very, very important stuff. Meir Planka, we all know Meir Planka. That's it. He went back to he told me we're not going to see him anymore. He's not coming. He went back to Toronto or something. Or he's on his way. I don't know. Kitzer, I was walking with him. He's walking home. And he says, in Toronto, we don't have a satellite location. Nobody wants to do a satellite location. That's what he said. There's no such thing. We got to get a satellite location there. He says, you know what? You make a video right now, 20 seconds, and I'm going to send it to a certain guy. Maybe that will give him chizuk. Or I'll send it to the whole group. So I said, okay. Toronto. Whoever jumps in and becomes the satellite location, the head of the satellite location, is going to get all these chusim. We're going to have a crazy amount of people in these locations. And you're going to be the one, be the Nachshon ben Aminadav. So he sent it to the group. Immediately, this guy, I don't know if it was the one that he meant or not meant, he says, I'm doing it, I'm in. We're starting Thursday, right away. Thursday is the first day, and we're going to do Thursdays. And if the Torah is into it, we'll do every day. Okay? Just wanted to say that's how it works. You got to go, you got to send the video, you got to chap a chizuk, and go with it. Says the Gemara. And if you weren't listening to the emails, today is the day. Today, after Simchas Torah, I actually saw somebody from the shir who was doing Bereshis before Kriyas Torah. I said, you're cheating. He said, I'm not cheating. And then everybody jumped on him and they attacked him. The imams attacked him and said, look what you did to me, Eli. Bittul Torah because you, whatever. Okay, anyway. Huh? No, it's him. He didn't say that time. Anyway, the point is, now is a great time to start Shnai Mikra Targum. Not going to talk about it much more. Here's your chance. Here's your warning. The year's going to go by before you know it. It's here. And you can do what I did. I messed up this year, this summer. I mamish fell off the bound. It's very hard for me to do Shnai Mikra. You lose your consistency. You're in a different place, this, Utah. So I missed a bunch of parashas. But Baruch Hashem, I made it up. I did the trick. I did all the ones that are Tzavim Vayelach, there's a bracha, and then I started plugging away. I saw that it's almost Simchas Torah. You make it up. At the end of the day, you make it up.
I had you in mind, so you're Yotze now.
You had all of MDY in mind also?
Everybody. I got it.
So nobody has to do it. Awesome. Have me in mind for the Daf too. I'll see you later. Okay. Awesome. He doesn't know what mitzvah should be gifay. You're talking to Hasidish now. Be gifay.
We'll check on Giggle.
Not awesome. Gifay is your body, otherwise known as gufay.
Goofy.
Yeah, okay, good. Not awesome. Harezet tmuras oila tmuras shlamim. Awesome. Rabbi said we're going to come up to a gewaldige video. What's going on here? Who's schmoozing here? I heard too much. Oh, you guys? Not awesome. Harezet tmuras oila tmuras shlamim. We know Tmura. Everybody in MDY knows Tmura. Hopefully the whole Klal Yisrael knows what Tmura is. Tmura! I designate this animal as a carbon. All of a sudden, a much nicer, beautiful animal shows up. And I say to myself, wait a minute, it's like an esrog. If you have a geschmack esrog and then you see even a nicer esrog, you get the nicer esrog, right? So this beautiful, I want this to be instead of this. That is a Isser Deraisa. Why? I don't know. That's what Hashem said. And they share now. This one becomes like this, but that's it. He's stuck. They're both at, and what he did is wrong, no good. Now, what if a guy says, he's walking with three animals. He has a Oila and a Shlamim. And he sees this beautiful animal. He says, you know what? That beautiful animal should be both an Oila and a Shlamim. No, the guy's Meshuggah. You can't have two korbanos in one. They're contradiction. The oil goes on the mizbeach and you burn it completely. A shlamim is something you could eat. No connection. But that's what he said. Now there's different ways you could say it. It's a little bit of what we're going to be discussing. Not a little bit, a lot of it of what we're discussing today. How he said it and what did he mean. Look at what is lashon. He says, Tmur harezu, this giant, beautiful, fat animal, is a tmuras oila, tmuras shlamim. He says two times the word tmura. What he could have said is, Harezu tmuras oila ushlamim. No. He says, tmuras oila, tmuras shlamim. Now I could explain it that he messed up. He realized immediately he messed up. He says, tmuras oila. No, in his mind. The no is in his mind. Tmuras shlamim. He repeats the whole thing. Why do you have to say another word, tmuras? He could have just said, if he really meant to be crazy and to make one animal two korbanos, he should have just said, tmuras oila shlamim. That's not what he said. He said, tmuras oila, tmuras shlamim. Maybe without a pause, with a pause, doesn't matter. But he said the word tmura twice. Here, check out this video. Love it. There's a lot of humor in here. What? Yeah. Here he is. Here's the oila on the right, the shlamim on the left.
הרי זו תמורת עולה, תמורת שלמים.
מה אני? מי אני? מי אני? מה לרשום על השלט?
What should I write on the sign? What am I? Who am I? What do I do now? Okay, you're right. He said tmura, a little funny. ChatGPT doesn't know what tmura says, but okay. So what's the halacha? Machlokes is here. Harei zit tmura soila. We go with the first lashon. What do we call that? Tfais, lashon, rishon. We grab the first thing that came in his mouth was tmura soila. He said a second later tmura shlamim. No, we go with the first one. Now I want you to pay attention here because on Amud Beis, the Gemara is going to say Rabbi Yossi doesn't argue with Rabbi Meir, and immediately the Gemara shuts it down. What do you mean? They argue. Here, this is right over here. So remember it. If he really wanted to make both of them, he wanted to make that one giant, this guy right here on the screen, he wanted to make him a oila and a shlamim. What is he supposed to do? He's not the Rebbeinu Shalom. How is he supposed to say it should be both? So he said, Tmura Soila, Tmura Shalom. That's what he wanted to do. Oh, so in other words, I say, what he's saying is, I say that it should be both. Both of them should be both. So we have to remember this because this is going to come up 2-3 times, maybe 3-4 times even. We might not even mention it, 1 or 2, but let's say it now. What happens when it's both? What? Okay, so it's both. Now what? What do you do? Huh? What do you do? It's both. It's shlamim and oila. Now what? You're not going to bring it to the Beis Hamikdash and bring it as a shlamim. It's an oila. It's kulei Hashem. You're not going to bring it as an oila because it's shlamim. So what do you do? So you bring it to Kevis land. This is what we call Yirat Yistayev. You let it graze until it befalls a mum. Either they have a special park for this or not, but you let it. And then you sell it, and now he buys, with the money, he buys an oila. And what do you do with the oila? You put it on the mizbeach. But in this case, Rabbi Isai, in this case, you take the money and you divide it, half oila, half shlamim. Okay? This is an addition to that video. In other words, first you make sure it gets a boo-boo, a mum, a real mum, broken leg. Then you sell the broken-legged animal, carbon, and whatever money, you got $100, 50 goes to shlamim, 50 goes to oila. Why? Because it's both. It's a shlamim and an oila. Great. Okay, so we're going to see that 3 times today. It's not important to the sugi. I'm just telling you what happened. But, says Rebbe continues, if he said, I want this to be an oila, I think everybody knows the answer to this question. He said, I want this to be oila. Then he took a nap. V'nimlach. He paused. And then he said, he made a nice pause over there. You guys are getting uncomfortable, no? You're like trying to help me out. He made a pause. He stopped. So of course the first one goes. Okay. So does he argue with Rameir? Absolutely. Saying something completely different. What if he removes that word? Yeah, I think I didn't even show this on Friday, but I mean, it's not a big deal. The first one was Tmuras Oila Tmuras Shlamim. In other words, he says the word Tmuras twice. Now we're asking, what if he says Tmuras Oila Ushlamim? Okay, he just took out the word Tmuras. This is a lot more likely he was serious about making this one animal two different things. Now, another question. Lachtzos mao. Here. Chatzi la'oila v'chatzi l'shlamim. Or chatzi oila, chatzi shlamim. Maybe you don't need the lamed over there. The point is, he's literally dividing it. He himself is doing the division. This last case, chatzi oila, chatzi shlamim, certainly Rameir is going to say that he didn't. There's no retraction here. He's actually explaining what he wants. He's saying this one giant animal, this 200-pounder, 100 pounds oil, 100 pounds shlamim. So he's not retracting anything. He's explaining what he wants, and that's why both of them are chal. It's both a noila and a shlamim. Rav Amar Daini Machloikis. Even in this case, where he says chatzi, check it out. He says chatzi la'oila or chatzi oila. Tvois lashon rishon, you grab the first language, and what happens? It automatically spreads to the rest of the animal. But even though he said chatzi oila, it's kulei oila. You, Abayi, say that in this certainly there's no machlokes. No machlokes because he's saying mefurish chatzi. Hari shchita delechi lachtzos dami upligi. What about shchita? We had in the Mishnah, a person shechting, he says, one kezayis is for, I'm going to eat it in 3 days from now, and one kezayis, I'm going to eat it in Bet Shemesh. In other words, he did chutz hazman, chutz hamakom. In one shchita. Upligi. Isn't that lachtzos? You have one animal has a bunch of kezaysim. What's going on? What's that, Coach Denise, you think?
He's ready for that. Or it's a hangover.
Very good. Very good. So, some noise coming out of there. Me and my noise. So, in the one shchita, he's doing 2 things. He's saying one kezai is for lamachar, one kezai is bachutz. He's doing chutz hazman, chutz hamakom, and there's still a machlokes. He told me that in this, everybody agrees that both of them should happen. If you're talking about shchita, when does the shchita happen? That's another shayla in Shas. When does the shchita occur? Halachically, is it when he starts cutting? And let's say he has, in order for him to chef, and he has a very dull knife, he's going back and forth 4 times. When did the shechita happen? Throughout the entire 4 times? Or all the way at the tail end when he got the 2 simanim, the trachea and the esophagus. Boom, he cut them, that moment, that's the shechita. So we have machlokes in Shas. So if you say it's the last moment, then the 2 kazesim, the 2 machshavas, the chutz zman, chutz makom happened simultaneously in the same exact millisecond. Because the shechita happened in 1 millisecond. So the 2 machshavas occurred in 1 millisecond. But you should know, yesh no shechita mitchilat soif. Besides the shechita mitchilat soif, yesh no shechita mitchilat soif. When a guy is cutting the shechita, it's a long process, and therefore, as he's cutting the trachea, he thinks chutz zman. As he's cutting the esophagus, he's saying chutz l'makom. It's 2 different simanim. We're not going to go into the whole Rashi or chatzi mater. The point is, it's like a whole thing in itself. For what? Not, okay, 2 avodah is a little strong. 2 parts of the 1 avodah, for instance, as the Gemara is going to bring in a second. I'll give you a mashal. A guy's walking with the blood from point A to point B. It's 25 feet to get to the mizbeach. Every step that he takes is part of the halacha, but it's another thought. Thought 1, thought 2, thought 3. It's a process. It's not a millisecond. It's a whole process that I could throw in different avodas, especially if it's a whole chelek, like he said. It's a whole piece. It's a whole esophagus, and here's a whole trachea. It's not half of the esophagus and another half of the esophagus. It's this whole siman for this machshava, this whole siman for that machshava. That's the Gemara, very nice. But you can't say your shtickle Torah when it comes to taking a fistful of flour, because over there aren't 2 parts. There's only 1 part. It's this, that's it. How are you going to divide this into 2? Let's see it again now. There's a little bit of a different one that Yoshi was able to make. It's very complicated to do this in AI. Why? I don't know. I don't do AI, but he explained to me that it's the detail and the control still going a lot, but okay. That's another coin holding it. He's supposed to, like, okay, with his thumb and with his...
Why can't that be the second part? First part, you put to the second part, you put to that.
No, but that's already 2 avodas. Within the 1 avodah. But the Gemara is going to say something similar. See in a second. Says the Gemara, 1 kmitza. There's 1 kmitza. Says the Gemara, you know, we had this. This is the levina, right? Frankincense, right over here. Something like that. Okay, the Sabir Seinayim, I don't know if this is exactly it, but on top of the flour, there's also a spoonful of this. So when he brings it, we're not talking about, now the Gemara says, we're not talking about the kmitza, we're not talking about this part. We're talking about a part that he's not showing in the video. That's the part putting it on the mizbeach. And this goes by itself, and the flour goes by itself. So it's 2 different parts. That's like the shechita that we said before. Says Gemara, very good. When he spoke, when he thought about the chutz zman, it was when he was doing the flour. When he was thinking about chutz l'makom, it was when he was doing the levina. So it's 2 separate things. A sinner's kmitza or mincha. A guy goes into the Beis HaMikdash betuma and he can't afford a regular carbon and he can't even afford a bird. So he said, you know what, bring 25 cents of flour. Over there's no levina. Remember, Mendy Oyerbach said, Chaytaniskar, and Rashi explains, we don't care about your svara. Hashem said it has to be a terrible, like an ugly carbon without any oil, without any frankincense, nothing. Plain flour. So over there, how are you going to say there's 2 parts? There's only 1 part flour. You're right, upligi, and there's machlokes over there. Loi pligi, no machlokes over there. Or Ravashi, and comes Ravashi and says, you know what? Maybe there's a machlokes over there. Tim's loimar pligi b'psios, because as he's walking with it in the halacha, there's each one is another machshava. Rav Shimon bar Ashi masnik et Abaye. Rav Shimi holds like a baida what that when it comes to when a person says chatzi, he talks about one animal. He says half and half. There's no machlokes. Everybody agrees that he meant to split it up. Rav Huna bar Nasa masnik the Rava that even in a case of lachtzos there's machlokes. Because Rav Dima Amar Meir B'Shitas Rabbi Yehuda Amara. Rav Dima came, he said Rabbi Meir holds like Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar Tfais Lashon Rishon. Rabbi Meir is still going with Rabbi Yehuda that what Tfais Lashon Rishon. We should really make a Musog HaShas. You gave up on me, right? We used to do Musog HaShas every Motzei Shabbos, and we're going to do the whole thing with it. It's not. We learned in our Mishnah. Zaklal. Imachshav says man kodma. It's machshav samako and people come of cars. Depending what comes first. If Zman comes first, so Zman goes. Amud Abayo. Amud Rabbi Rav Chana Daf Amud Beis. Amud Abayo. Amud Rabbi Rav Chana Amud Rabbi Yochanan. Kimagaslu. When you really want to look into it, Remei Rabbi Yosi Ba'adei Adodi Loi Pligi. So I pointed out before, we have machlokes Remei Rabbi Yosi. It says Gemara Loi Pligi, V'Miflik Pligi. They say straight out it's a machlokes. Omar lei pligi b'mayde pligi. I love this lashon. Pligi b'mayde pligi. They argue what they argue. Pligi b'mayde lei pligi, and they don't argue what they don't argue. Meaning that they both agree that you don't say twice lashon rishon. A second ago we said that Meir holds like a real that you say twice lashon rishon. No, they both agree there's no twice lashon rishon. Why the Omar Rabbi Yisrael Bar Yisrael Rabbi Yochanan? Hakol moedem hecha the Omar tochel zu v'achikach tochel zu. When a person says, I want this to apply itself, I want it to be a chutz zman, and then he says. And afterwards, I want this to be chuz zman. And afterwards, it should be chuz makom. Because he said it first should be this, and then it should be that. So the first thing is what applies itself. But if he says he makes a stipulation, he makes a condition, he makes a t'nai lo tachal zu elam kein chal zu. The only way I want the chuz zman to work is if there's a chuz makom. So I'm sorry, we're talking about an animal here. The only way I want this animal to be a tmuras oila is if it's also a Tmur Shlamim. So then it becomes both. It becomes a Oila and a Shlamim. And what do? Yirachi, you starve, Kevis land, then you take the money, and you put it in the pushka, you put half Oila, half Shlamim. What was your name again?
Janko
Belephant? From Vannen?
Born in Sweden, Danish.
Wow.
Married.
No, stop right there. You live in Sweden, unbelievable. Our first Talmud from Sweden, Gewaldig. Okay, no, and then afterwards?
I lived in Switzerland.
Stefanskys.
Stefansky.
Yeah.
And all the feminists there. Then
It's all the exotic kind of places.
my wife passed away and moved to London.
Wow.
Live in London.
You live in London now? Shalom Aleichem. Welcome. Okay, gewaldig. Zog die Gemara. Oh, sponsors. Turning of the daf. Adar Global Specialists in International Financial Services, Anonymous, has its chus for Hatzloch and Ruchnis and Gashmis, Anonymous, and the chus in support of Torah, that all tests should come back 100% healthy for me and my family. Amen. Okay. Zog die Gemara. Keep ligi the Omar Tmura Soila Tmura Shlamim. The Omar Chlaigis is when he says the double lashon here. If you want to see the top one, he says the lashon that seems like he's saying two different things. Tmura Soila Tmura Shlamim. Remei Soba Meda Havelei Lemem Tmura Soila Ushlamim. He should have said the middle line. He should have taken out the word Tmura, and he didn't do that. V'Omar Tmura Soila Tmura Shlamim. Shma Mina Me'el Yikom Haderei. Obviously, he's retracting. He in middle of a sentence, mid-sentence, no, Tmura Shlamim, I mean, not Tmura Soila. Rabbi Yosi, Tmura Soila Shlamim. No, he couldn't have said the middle line over there. Havamina Palga Tmura Soila, Palga Tmura Shlamim. He's thinking to himself, how could I say Tmura Soila Shlamim? That would mean 50-50. Each one, this animal should be 50. No. I don't want 50-50. I want 100%. Remember the kula oila ukula shlamim. Whatever that means in his mind. He wanted it to be 100% oila, 100% shlamim. And what do? You actually starve and you divide the money. Have your Omar lei, who Omar loy pligi? Vana mini pligi. I say that they do argue. In other words, even when a person says the middle line, Tmuras Oilo Ushlamim, Rebbeir is going to hold Tfais Lashon Rishon. I go with the Oila, and I ignore the shlamim. Omar Ula. Here's a geschmack sugya. It's a fun sugya but you got to pay attention. It's really interesting sugya. Like you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. So let's say here. Let's talk about this. It says in the Mishnah. This is just a quote from our Mishnah. If a person says lecho kezayis bachutz kezayis lemachar, or kezayis lemachar kezayis lechutz, bachutz. So we have, what's the halacha? Let's look. Peek. Lecho kezayis bachutz kezayis lemachar kezayis lechutz. Pasal vein bekaris, because he mixed the two. Bachutz and machar. What's bachutz? Chutz l'mkaymai. L'machar is chutz l'zmanai. Since he mixed the two l'shoynes, the two machshavas, it's possible. It's not. It can't be pigol, but it's possible. Okay. Now, here are the options, Rabbi say. Did the Mishnah say? It really says kazayis, kazayis, kazayis l'machar, kazayis bachutz. That's what it says by us. If we read in the Shas Vilna, that's what it says. But what I want to know, maybe it said this. Maybe that's what he really said. Kazayis u kazayis. Now, what's the difference between the two things? Do you see the difference? What? Oh, you're an Israeli kid. You lived here your whole life, right? Huh? It's more both than the first one, right? Why? Vav achibur. The only difference is that one vav. That's the whole difference. The first one I could maybe meant kazayis machar. Oh no, because maybe there's a little bit of a retraction there. I don't know. But when a guy says ukazayis, he's actually l'chayr. He's putting them both together. What about this one right over here? He says kazayis once. He's like putting two things into one kazayis. That would be the most likely that he meant business. He meant to put both of them. The one on top, least likely. The one in the middle, I don't know, somewhere in between. What? More likely than the first one, less likely than the last one. Two is in between. So says the Gemara, comes Zula, and he says, does anybody here in Bavel, I'm here, I'm on a trip to Bavel, I need to know if you Bavloim, what do you say? Kizayis kizayisnan, or kizayis ukizayisnan? What did he say exactly? So the Gemara explains. Kizayis kizayisnan, ava kizayis ukizayis, they are called iru machshavas. Maybe the Mishnah was talking about kizayis kizayis, but when it says ukizayis, now the two thoughts go together. And what happens when they go together? Is it pigul or not pigul? This is a trick question. Huh? Why not? Because you have to have a clear, pure machshava. And when you mix two machshavas together, it ruins it. It's not real pigul. It might be possible, but not. You don't get cars. Or dilma kizayis ukizayisnan. Perhaps no. It's a number two. Dil Rabbi Yehuda Pradahavi. He breaks it down as two separate thoughts. And what do you do when the two separate thoughts? Twice lashon rishon, very good. Doilim's holding. V'kolchkin kazayis kazayis. If the vav, which is more likely that it's one thing, he breaks it down to two. So certainly, if there's no vav, it's completely two, and therefore twice lashon rishon, and whatever he said first should go. Tashma. Oh, here it gets super interesting. Now over here you need this chart. Like you gotta flow with me. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're gonna do it slow though. Well, as slow as we can do before the Israelis start coming in here. Toshma, Rebbe. Levi asks Rebbe. Rebbe's the one that authored the Mishnah. Now he could ask him whatever he wants. What did you write in the Mishnah? What's this question? What number did we just say? 3. He said the word kezayis once. L'machar b'chutz. It's both. L'machar means chutz l'zman. B'chutz means chutz l'makom. That's number 3. What's the halacha? He asks Rebbe. Now, why didn't he ask Rebbe any other question? That's the cheshbon of the Gemara. Well, he had the opportunity. He's in front of Rebbe, the Galad Dar. Why didn't he ask him, what's the halacha of kezayis u kezayis? So we have to figure it out. It's like one of these riddles. I'm serious. You know those riddles that you see a guy wearing a hat and there's no mirror. How many hats are you wearing based on how many hats he's wearing? It's do a whole cheshbon, because if I was wearing 2 hats and he would have seen that I'm wearing 2 hats, and he would have gone out the door. And, you know those riddles? You have no idea what I'm talking about. I don't either know what I'm talking about.
Had a rule, only 1 question per share.
Whoa! Very good. You had a rule. You see, it's in first Gemara, 1 question per share. In the 1 question, you have to figure it out. So the Gemara is going to do it. It's very cool. I'm serious. And just to understand how deep Rebbe was and what he put in the Mishnah, he said 1 halach in the Mishnah, kizayis, and you're supposed to figure out everything else. So let's see. Wow, that's a very good question. You should know that number 3, like we kind of anticipated, it's a mixture of mocher and chutz, because he stuck it into 1 kazayis. He didn't say kazayis, he didn't say kazayis, ukazayis. 1 kazayis, boom, you're done. That's the most obvious, but it's a good question. He tells him. So now Rebbe's son, he has more access to his father. He says, "Listen, didn't you teach us in a Mishnah?" And everybody's there could be these Mishnahs were even before Rebbe. There's a Mishnah in Zevachim, Daf Amud Beis. It says Lecho kazayis b'chutz, kazayis l'mocher. It says kazayis. That's number 1. Kazayis l'mocher, kazayis b'chutz. Kazayis. All these cases, pasal vein bekars. So Reb Shimon, Rebbe's son, tells him, why does the Mishnah use case number 1? Tell me case number 3. I'll tell you why. Because case number 1, you could separate. You could say twice lashon rishon, but not in case number 3. That's why you, Tati, you didn't put case number 3 in the Mishnah. You said case kazayis. Otherwise, you would have put in case. It's obvious from the Mishnah that case number 3. It's so I don't understand why Leiba even asked you. He should have just read the Mishnah and see that we're talking. The Mishnah says kazayis, and I would. It's obvious that just kazayis by itself, there's no pigol, because it's a mixture of. You with me, Levi? Hakom Seder? Good. Givaldik. Oh, Levi, yeah. Very good. He said, "Who shall be dvar chochma v'at amros mishnaseinu?" He's not upset at him. He tells him, "Listen, you don't understand. I taught you one thing, and I taught him something completely different. I taught you 1 and 2. Yeah? Loy kashyach. So you can figure out that number 3 is pashat. It's iruv, it's a mixture, and there's no pigol. But Levi, I only taught him 1. Which one? Let's go with number 1. Kazayis. And he heard Rabbanan say that they learned 2, 1 and 2. Even kazayis, he heard them talking about. And then he thought to himself, the di dafka, what Rebbe taught me, which is number 1, that's the only one he taught. And they messed up a little bit. They added number 2 there, and it's a mistake. And number 2 would be probably a mixture of machshavas, just like number 3. Number 2 is also, because he said kazayis. When I say number 2 and everybody's like on Spotify and they don't see what I'm talking about, I feel bad. Sometimes I'll explain it. Number 2 is kazayis ukazayis. Okay. But he was confused there. Maybe Rebbe actually taught them that 1 and 2, you could break it up. Well, these shiuri shayerli. And he didn't tell me everything. He only told me 1. So then, just like he didn't tell me the rest of the cases, he only gave me 1 case. He didn't tell them all the cases, and he probably left them case number 3, and that would teach us that the case number 3 is iru of machshavos. Now, which one did he teach his son? Levi. Which one did he teach Levi? Which one did he teach him? Did he teach him number 2, the middle one? And that's considered what? two separate machshavas, because he said, even if he said a vav. Now, if that's considered two machshavas, what about number one? 100%. Even if he says kizayis u kizayis, which is more likely that it's connected, and he says it's not connected, so of course, number one, where he doesn't say u, he says kizayis, it's certainly not connected. That's considered two separate machshavas. Haylav shiuru. That's posh. He didn't leave anything out. Of course, Rabbi is going to hold that's Tfais Lashon Rishon in number one. That's certainly separated. Now it says Gemara v'tiboy lei. So obviously he told him number one. That's the one he told him, and he didn't tell him what the rest of the halachas are, number 2 and 3. Now ask the Gemara, why didn't Levi ask Rebbe v'tiboy lei kizayis u kizayis? Huh? I skipped what? I thought I said that. Elo kizayis asne. Oh, it says before Gemara. Obviously, he taught his son the first one, kizayis. Because if he taught him the second one, it would be obviously what the first one is. He taught the first one. Now the question is, what did he teach Levi? I'm sorry, why didn't Levi ask him a different question? Why did he ask him number 3? What's the halacha by kizayis plain? He should have asked him, what's the halacha by kizayis u kizayis? I'm only, like Ariel said, I'm only asking him one question. So let me ask him one question, I'll be able to figure all this stuff out from it. And here it goes. If I can't ask him, if I ask him kizayis u kizayis, so it depends what he's going to answer me. I have to anticipate the answer. It's cool. I'm telling you, it's geshmak. If I ask him number 2, what is he going to answer me? It depends on what he answers me, then I'll know or I won't know. If he tells me that it's mixed in, everything's mixed, it's one machshava, so then, if number 2 is one machshava, then certainly number 3, where he only says one kizayis, everybody agrees with me. That's pashut. But the problem is, but what if he says number 2 is you break it down? Now I'm stuck. I don't know what the halach is in number 3. If you break down number 2, for sure you break down number 1. But what about number 3? I don't know. So that's not a good question to ask him. Listen to this. Hold on. That's not a good question to ask. I only have one question. Because I don't know what the answer will be. Depending on the answer, if he answers me that it's broken down, number 2 is broken down, then I don't have a good answer in number 3. Did I skip that? Did I say it? But if he tells me it's broken, number 2 is broken down, I don't know. Says Gemara, so what did he gain? And what did he ask him? He asked him number 3. So why is that good enough, that question? If he says that number 3 is broken down, then the whole list is broken down, that's for sure. What if he if he tells him it's mixed machshavas, so now he only has an answer for number 3 and he won't know what to do with number 2. On that the Gemara says, listen to this one. Is anybody holding with me here? You won't know anything. You'll only know 3, you won't know 2, and certainly not 3. Yeah, you won't know anything. Yeah. Says the Gemara, listen to this, and then we're basically done. You have to use body language over here. It depends how a Rebbe answers. If Rebbe says, what are you talking about? Of course it's mixed machshavas. Then number 2 is also mixed machshavas. Like what's wrong with you? Why are you asking such a silly question on number 3? But if he says, oh, that's a good kasha. That number 3 is mixed machshavas, then I'll know that number 2 is not. You hear? Based on his kas, on Rebbe's kas. If number 2 is a mixture, number 3 is certainly a mixture. What do you ask me such silly questions? So that's why he said, I'm going to pick this question, kizayis, and now I'm going to listen to what he says It's a mix, but I'm going to say how he says it. It's a mix, shoita, like not the shoita. It's not going to say that. He'll say it with a red face. Do we have a second there?
Yeah.
Second, no. Just it reminds me of the Maisa of Rabbi Sorel Stalanter. He said he I forgot exactly that he had to do tshuva on the kas. Now what happened? One time in his life he got upset. He said that he made this thing that there was a magefa. There was how do you say a plague. Famous story. There was a plague, and he had 150 young guys deal with the sick, bathe them, and he gave them very strict instructions. You have to be machal Shabbos all the time. Heat up the water, this, that. Don't skimp on the Chil Shabbos. And he promised them that nobody's gonna get sick, even though they're dealing with these sick people. So a guy came to him and said, "Listen, everything's good. It's beautiful chesed and everything, but they're not makbid on Shabbos. Like they're just." And he got very upset at the guy, and he said, "I forgot the exact lashon. I don't want to mess it up. Something to the effect like, you're not allowed to say that. I don't want them to be scared about Chil Shabbos for even one moment. They have to be Chil Shabbos in seconds, and don't ever talk like that." And then he said something like, "Do you think I would promise 150 people that they're not going to get sick if I wasn't sure that they have to be Chil Shabbos and how important it is to save lives?" Oh, but he got upset, and for that one little kas, he held it against himself for the rest of his life, that I had to do tshuva, that he got upset at this guy. Rabbi Sai, a good winter, yishkoyach for coming.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.